Netflix, you got another one. Shadow and Bone Season 1 lived up to expectations. They were hyping this show up, and I can tell you right now, it is a very good start. Let's go ahead and talk about this show. The story of Shadow and Bone takes place as a war between two countries, between Ravka and Phrygia. And I believe that Phrygia is attacking Ravka because of the magic users that Ravka has, also known as Grecians. And what it is that also on top of the war that Ravka is facing, it's kind of also facing a internal civil war, because the bigger plot, which is the Shadowfold that takes place divided between the west and the east of Ravka, it started off because of Grecian doing dark magic, and particularly the Shadow Summoner, which we will get down later in the review. The story starts off with Alina, who is the main character. She eventually becomes a Sun Summoner, but she starts off as this orphan and eventual soldier, who she's the map maker. It's a pretty interesting main character, and not at one point from the beginning to the end of the season do we lose interest on this main character, so it's a very good job. All right, and my only knock on the show comes off with the second character, and this is the only thing I pretty much have bad about the show, and that is that Mal, which is the childhood friend of Alina, didn't really get a strong development in season 1, which is okay because we can still get a lot more from him in season 2. And for what we know, he still could be a Grisha. He's never been tested himself. But what we do know about Mal is that he's an expert tracker. He's also eventually becomes a soldier. He starts off as an orphan. But yet, he is an important character on the show. He is one of the 3 kind of segments in the show. The show takes place with following 3 different characters or 3 different groups. Mal is one, Alina is another one, and then the third group, which is composed of Kaz, Inej, and Jasper, that is actually the really fun group, and that's the one where at any point when they put him on, I was kind of like, oh, I gotta pay close attention because they're gonna do something funny. The 3 sets of characters, 2 of them are kind of like arms or muscle men for Kaz. Inej, she is an expert with the blades. She has a whole bunch of daggers. She's an acrobat. Just a dope character and definitely had me intrigued. She also vanishes whenever she wants. It was pretty damn dope. Jesper, he is a gunslinger. Very cool guy. It's just, he has 2 guns, two 6-shooters. And it was just pretty dope seeing him in scenes. I think he carried sometimes the show. Very also comedic character, very light, very easy to get attached to. And then Kaz, which is like this kind of like dark, and you think that he's an evil guy. He is the mastermind. He's always thinking 2 steps behind. He sees things when other people don't. That's what makes that character very intriguing. I'm still looking to see what's going to happen with that character. At any point, you could have kind of that character turn into a bad guy. But for season 1, he was actually a pretty dope character, and I'm definitely looking forward to see more of him and actually of his entire crew. The main plot or the story is really centered around General Kigarin, who is the bad guy or the antagonist in the show. I wouldn't even say he's a villain or bad guy, actually. I would just say he was just the antagonist. I kind of dig this guy too. This guy wasn't even that bad, man. Like, he's doing things to protect for his reasons, you know what I'm saying? It's not just like he's just a straight evil, straight chaotic type of guy. Yes, towards the end he does get out of control a little bit, but still I would like to see in season 2 where they take that character and they kind of make amends with him and the Grecias. He is the guy that's responsible for creating the Shadowfold and all the evil creatures that are inside the Shadowfold, and he is the bigger kind of like obstacle in the way for Alina and the rest of the crew. But in my opinion, it has kind of like a Game of Thrones feel to it, where you can relate to a lot of the different sides in the story, and his side's included. You can relate to his side, and I'm looking forward to seeing more development from his side of the story, because when they gave us some of his background story, it was pretty dope, and I kind of understood where he was coming from. The last thoughts about the show is that this show was done really well in terms of development. They didn't follow exactly the book. I read that somewhere, which means that they'll have the opportunity to bend some things and be very creative. One thing that Game of Thrones did wrong, which is they followed the book as much as they could, and then there was a point where they were stuck because there was no material to get sourced from. This show didn't make that same mistake, and what they're gonna do is that they have created such an open world and such a detail for season 1 that not only is there a season 2 coming from this, you obviously could tell that the show is good enough for season 2, but they can even make like video games off of this. They could do just so much things, and it's something that I'm actually looking forward to. I also love how the magic is very detailed and it's very vast. You have, which are the elementalists, which are people dealing with fire and wind, and we will get introduced to people with water, I'm assuming. Then you have these people called transmuters, who are the people that are able to deal with healing, and they're also dealing with changing appearances, and they also do some type of damage, which is like kind of like stop the heart and stuff like that. That was actually pretty cool. And then you have the lastly, which is the materialist, which we didn't get a lot of from this type of magic, which it was just one guy who could really pretty much detect the ring from far away, or he has like this gloves that he can enhance people with. So it wasn't much of the materialist that we got out of. I think the show is great. I'm gonna give this show a 8. That's how good of a start it was. It was a really good start, and we're looking forward to season 2. I'm scared that season 2 might not be as good as season 1. There's a lot of shows on Netflix that delivered on season 1 and have not delivered in season 2. But for now, I think you guys should all go out and enjoy Shadow and Bone.